A lot is going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on the World Edition. I did see that the hearings had continued to take place around the Epstein files and everything like that. I believe that Pam Bondi was on the hot seat yesterday. I don't know if she's back on the day or not. We'll find out from some of our other people and all along those lines, but she was definitely on the hot seat yesterday. And I saw Don Lemon and other commentators talking about what she had going on and all in that space. So that was one of the stories that I saw. And of course, people are still talking about the various things going on in the Olympics and all along those lines. So there's a lot of things taking place in that regard. So lots of people are paying attention to what's happening in that part of the world in terms of what we're doing with Epstein's files and how that's going. Don't forget, we do have that special that airs on uh, Tuesdays at 4 o'clock. So that'll be something that'll be continuing for at least another 2 or 3 weeks. But the first episode aired this past Tuesday, which was 2 days ago, and all along those lines. I also saw that the Gallup poll was actually going to get out of the Gallup business or the presidential approval business and all along those lines. So that was a news story that was recently reported that they were not going to do that after having done that for 88 years and all along those lines. So definitely a lot's going on in that sense, and we'll be bringing in different folks that'll have their thoughts around a number of these news stories. I see I've got Sasha Starr with me, and I'm actually looking where I see that NVIDIA is up plus 1.08%. So NVIDIA is up at this particular time. So I know Sasha will be pleased with that news, and he had his modern investment show on yesterday and all along those lines. So that was definitely some great news in that sense and all in that way. I'll bring in Sasha Starr and Rick Rosner and see what they've got on their minds and all along those lines. So we'll see how they've got things going on in their world and what they're thinking about and all in that kind of space. I bring up my main StreamYard and all along those lines. So how are you doing, Rick? And how is
Okay.
things going in your world? I did see
Okay.
that there was a couple of news stories. I saw that the SAVE Act had passed, and I guess Trump is
Yeah,
happy about
that's
that. And like
bad.
I said, I
That's
was
super bad. That's super bad because it's not a voting. First of all, there's no significant voting fraud in the United States. That the Heritage Foundation has an election integrity project database where they've gathered all the documented instances of voting fraud over the past 40 years. And they've only found about 2,000 votes cast fraudulently out of a total of 2 billion votes cast. So that's a rate of 1 in a million. It's an insignificant problem. And the SAVE Act doesn't it makes it logistically difficult for tens of millions of people to vote. If you're a married woman and you took your husband's last name, you have to dig up original documents showing who you were, like you got to order your birth certificate, or you have to show a passport. And I don't know, I would bet only about a third of Americans have a passport. So the idea of the SAVE Act, the hidden idea, but not hidden very well, is that it will make it harder for voters who tend to skew Democrat to cast their ballots. It's a shitty act.
sounds like it and everything like that. I did see that there was, by the way, I know yesterday we were thinking the U.S. was not doing that great in the Olympics, but I had actually looked and they are doing better than expected. Right now, they are in third place
They
in
have it.
as
Yeah,
Norway. As Italy is actually in first place, and Norway and the U.S. are actually they're in second place. Norway and the USA are tied for second place in terms of medal counts.
yeah, they had a
Italy does
great
have more
day
gold medals.
yesterday. They had a great day. I watched the
Yeah.
ice dancing, and
Uh-huh.
it's nice. But the people who dance look like nightmares. They look like super divas. So I asked AI, "Are ice dancers mean?" And I expected to get some kind of mealy mouth. You can't judge people. No, AI came back and said, "Yeah, they can be mean." And like the maybe the French lady who took the gold with her partner might be the
Yeah.
hottest dancer. She had an outfit day before yesterday, showed her whole butt, which I'm in favor of.
I know you're in favor of that and everything like that. Hey, by the way,
but she's skating with a new partner because her
mhm,
boyfriend and former partner has been banned from ice dancing for 6 years for sexual assault.
well,
So there's a lot of AI told me there's a lot of toxic stuff going on in the world of ice dancing. Though it said that the U.S. dancers who are married to each other aren't dickheads.
well, by the way, it looks like the Trump administration is saying that it's ending its immigration surge in Minneapolis, and the Minnesota immigration crackdown is ending, according to what Tom Homan is saying, and everything like that. So, are we taking him at his word, or what is our thoughts around this notion of the immigration crackdown stopping in India in Minneapolis?
I think you can take him at his word. Now, I assume ICE will still be there, but maybe not in force. They sent 2,000 to 3,000 ICE and Border Patrol into a town, Minneapolis, that normally is patrolled by 600 cops. So they overwhelmed the local cops. So I assume they'll take the 2,000 out. Will they leave a few hundred there? I don't know. Maybe not, because they only have about 22,000 ICE officers for the whole country. So maybe they'll pull them all out and move them someplace else. Now, Homan, he's working for a dickish regime, but he's got a long record, and he's kind of dick himself, but he's got a long record of being less of a dick than Kristi Noem, than that guy who dressed like a Nazi who got sent away. So yeah, I think we can take him at his word that they're done messing with Minneapolis.
Well,
Yeah,
speaking of taking
maybe
people
they'll
like
send them
that,
to Portland. Have you thought of that? They should go to Portland.
Well, Portland's another city that they can bully because Minneapolis has about 430,000 people. Portland has 650,000. So it's another, medium to small city. They tried to come bully Los Angeles, and it didn't go so well for them. So they like picking on the under a million population cities.
well, speaking of picking on people and everything like that, a lot of people have been picking on Pam Bondi and her testimony yesterday. As I was saying earlier, I'm not sure if she's testifying today. I know y'all are watching that more closely than I am and everything like that. But a lot of people, everybody from Don Lemon to a number of others, were saying that she was evading answers and not really answering the questions that they were asking. And she was bringing up other things because this was all supposed to be around the Epstein trial, where she was bringing up immigration and she was bringing up a number of other things as well. So, what was your reaction to Bondi's testimony? Because one of the congresspersons said she's got to be one of the worst attorney generals ever.
I've never seen anybody testify before Congress or appear before Congress in this way. She was she was like a bad insult comedian. She had prepared lines to attack every Democrat who asked her questions. She just yelled at people. She refused to answer questions. It was, every other attorney general in history has behaved with decorum. They may have lied before Congress, but she yelled. She insulted people. She called a Jewish congresswoman anti-Semitic, even though the congresswoman's grandparents were killed in the Holocaust.
Grandparents.
She just her strategy, and I'm sure she didn't develop that strategy on her own, was to just behave like an asshole, and hoping that that the base would support this, and that she didn't answer any questions. There's still 3 million documents in the Epstein files that they're refusing to release. They've said we've released all the documents, and at the same time there are 3 million they haven't released. So it's a weird deal.
Are they following that over there in Spain, Nick, and everything? So what's going on in terms of, are they following this Epstein case in Spain and the rest of Europe that you're traveling around, if you're living there now? So what are they thinking about this whole Epstein situation?
They are following Epstein because he has international implications. In other words, his little mini prostitute ring hit Great Britain. It hit a lot of people in Europe. I mean, the guy was incredible. How many people he got involved in his little whatever skirmishes he was doing. So yeah, it does make the news here. The big news, of course, the Olympics and the weather. But in terms of Pam Bondi, she didn't get much love over here at all. She did go to a what we call maybe a third-tier law school. It was close to where I grew up, Stetson. But Stetson Law School compared to Miami, I went to the U, good law school. Stetson, yeah, it's a meh. It's like a next 100 law school. It's not even a top 100 law school. So, and she grew up in Temple Terrace. I mean, I knew where all she went. She has a very limited knowledge of the world, and makes matters worse, she spent a limited amount of time in the prosecutor's office. So why would you choose somebody who is a third or fourth rate lawyer to become Attorney General of the United States? Politics. In other words, she sucks up to Trump, and that's the reason she's the Attorney General. But definitely in terms of a major law firm hiring her, it's not going to happen. Now it will, because she was the Attorney General. So did I listen to her at all? No. Do I plan on listening to her? No. Okay. I mean, it's just.
So I worry about her mental health.
I think she's pretty strong. I don't see any problem with her mental health.
Well, no, she used to be. If you read like a sketch of her life, she used to be a decent person. She used to be a prosecutor who cared about people. She loves dogs. I mean, everybody, no matter how bad they are, people love dogs. But anyway, like, she has to get out there and give this insane performance. And,
the thing is, to become Attorney General of the United States, Rick, that's a big deal. That's like you becoming Jimmy Kimmel and being on ABC or whatever channel he is. I don't listen to Jimmy Kimmel. Sorry, I don't say.
Well, okay, let's talk about that.
Okay, because, I mean, the real question is, what would you give up to be the night host of a major television network? Okay, I would imagine maybe not you, but a lot of people in your position would give up a lot to do that. So to become Attorney General of the United States, she was willing to do anything. Frankly, it makes sense to me, because I want to talk about capability to go that far is amazing. So I'm impressed. Remember, limited class and capability to go that far is amazing. Only in America can you get people that are subpar to move into high positions. Only in America. No other country would allow. I don't know any other country would allow stuff like that.
I'm sure like Uganda would put jackasses,
but that's what I'm saying. In other words, it's you have to imagine Jimmy Kimmel's position is opened up, and now you're available to get there. But what you have to do is give up half of your life or whatever you like.
The people who are able to function without going crazy have an identity separate from their celebrity identity. I always I knew Jimmy from when we were little. I knew Jimmy before he was famous.
Oh, so you know before he was Jimmy.
But the deal is that his identity, he wasn't sacrificing everything to get where he was.
Get to the next position.
No, he has a human personality outside of the celebrity existence, and he and Stephen Colbert are huge Catholics. They're religious. They have ties to family and community. And one reason that Kimmel likes his job, his late night job, is he gets to talk to people and joke with people, and he loves doing that.
Sure.
He doesn't love
he's got a job that pays well. I mean, he's got a dream job. It pays well.
And I'm sure he enjoys all that, but he likes the human aspects of his job and his life, which gives him some integrity and psychological support. With Bondi, what does she have? Because she's I don't know that her personality, that her psyche is intact because of what she has to do every day.
Well, she got the big cheese position. Name another famous attorney rather than the Attorney General of the United States. Lawyers there aren't that many super important positions except judgeships and doing that. But if I said Name a famous attorney at the biggest and baddest law firm, Kravis, Swaine, and Moore. Name
Pierce,
one.
what's his name?
You probably can't name one of them.
Yeah, I
Not
can.
one at Kravis, Swaine, and Moore.
I can.
You know
There's
what I mean? They don't get a lot of love or attention. So the attorney general, she got a big cheese position, and she was going to do whatever it takes to get there. She got there. So all I can say is more power to her. But I know where she was from. I used to live in Temple Terrace, Florida, where she grew up. Temple Terrace is a backwater community in Tampa, which is a backwater city, which is the reason I left, is because Hillsborough County, although it has some good points like every place does, is you cannot imagine anything more backwater than maybe Jackson, Mississippi. Seriously.
Well, we don't want to pick too much time on Florida and everything like that. But just really quickly, I did have a question for Rick, and this comes back to Trump and everything like that. Apparently, this very popular, and I know you're not always the biggest fan of polling, but this very popular polling agency is no longer going to do presidential approval polling, which is the Gallup, because the Gallup has said that after 88 years, no presidential poll. So what does that take on this notion that the Gallup is getting out the presidential approval business?
All right. So, when my wife and I, we spend hours together. I don't have a job. She doesn't have a job. And most of our conversation consists of one of us will point out something to the other, and then we both say, that's crazy. Like Pam Bondi yesterday was crazy. Gallup was the first presidential opinion pollster. They started polling opinions, approval polling for the president, starting with Franklin Delano Roosevelt in like 1940. They've been in the business for 85 years, and they are now chickening out because
you have to really think that the Gallup management is stupid. But by the way, it doesn't surprise me.
No, they're not stupid. They're cowardly. Trump threatened to sue them because
they're cowardly and stupid. Because the thing is, come on, it's like saying the NFL decides they don't want to do football anymore. I mean, if the name Gallup comes up, the first thing in my brain goes poll. If you say any other business Gallup's in, I have no clue. So once they pull out of the poll, they're just saying we're folding. We're not in business anymore. And let's face it, doing polls is not that hard today. It's easier than almost anything else is to do a poll. So what they're saying is we can't even do an easy job. So really, I don't know.
Somebody the shadow has written in saying that Trump's name is mentioned more times in the Epstein files than Harry Potter is mentioned in the Harry Potter books, and his name is mentioned more times than God's name is mentioned in the Bible. So
what? I mean, so the thing is, so Epstein had a fetish on Trump. That doesn't prove anything. I can't believe the liberals pick up that as an issue when it has nothing to do with anything. Maybe he used the word "the" more than any other word in the stuff he wrote. Who cares? It's meaningless. So the thing is, unless you have something substantial, counselor, to bring before this court, I'm going to have to dismiss this with prejudice. And we need to move on to another topic.
All right. One more thing, though. You mentioned all these European muckety mucks.
So he mentioned them.
For going to for going to Epstein Island.
And even if they went to Epstein Island, who cares?
Well, speaking of things that people care about and don't care about, I want to bring the issue to Sasha's mind and everything like that. We got a whole special on Epstein.
You guys are really smoking some lefty weed over there. So the thing is,
like I said, we got a whole special on Epstein and everything, and we've also got
you guys are going to be thrown out on your ear, and this is the reason you lose elections. You grab these.
We're not losing in 2026.
You grab the red herring. Oh, I've got something here. You have nothing.
Well, Trump has nothing. Trump has fulfilled only one dimension of the things he was voted for. He was voted to make things
more affordable. He was voted on two things: the economy, and frankly, whether you like it or not, Jacoby can jump up and down. He can say, "I'm going to overtalk you." He's wrong. The economy under Biden was sucky. Inflation was double digits, and the thing is, the gas prices were high. Every metric you look at was bad under Biden.
Except jobs.
The other thing was immigration.
Hold on, jobs.
Say what you like. but the borders, the people were flooding in by the millions. He was elected on those two things, and he won, and he fulfilled most of his promises.
No, his
Now,
economic promises. No, he's
that's the reality.
Terrible on jobs. He only created.
He's not as good as Biden was on jobs, but that's also because he fired.
Both of you, we know from history that midterm elections usually the party in control usually winds up losing and everything like that. So that's going to happen. That he's probably going to lose some seats, and he's already lost some of those things in the midterm elections. Apparently, and this is what I want to hear from Sasha and everything like that, because this is world news involving the Olympics, which we were talking about earlier, and Ukraine, because apparently, and sometimes we talk about the ways that people protest and all along those lines. So a Ukrainian gentleman was banned because of a helmet that he was wearing, and the helmet was honoring the war dead and everything like that. So I don't know if you've been following this story, Sasha, and what your take on this and everything like that, because definitely this gentleman has been banned because he was a Ukrainian skeleton racer from competing in the 2026 Winter Olympics over the helmet of athletes who died in war. So definitely the International Olympic Committee said they disqualified Vladislav Hrasavage over his refusal to comply with the Olympic rules. So what's your take on this? I mean, I don't see why there's any problem with him showing his honoring those that had passed and had died in the war efforts and everything like that. But the IOC has banned him. So what's your take on this?
I'm not familiar with Olympic rules about helmets and what you should or shouldn't wear. His intentions were very honorable, and it's too bad that the rules wouldn't permit him to do what he done. And there is nothing else really to comment on. Unfortunately, the rules are the rules. So in this case, you can criticize them and so on, but you cannot violate them at the same time. So there's nothing more to say. Now, speaking about Trump, I would like to add one thing that based on yesterday's votes about, there was a vote to stop any tariffs against Canada.
Yep.
And many Republicans are now voting for this cancellation of these tariffs. So Trump was telling them that not only these Republicans, but any Republicans who will vote against tariffs will have to be punished and will be punished in the upcoming elections. So immediately what it means, Trump would put another candidate, Republican candidate, and would support him and would defeat the present seat holder, whether it's a Senate or House or so on. So with a regime like this, I wouldn't be surprised that more and more Republicans will revolt against this old criminal. And so eventually he will find his place in jail, and it's going to happen rather sooner than later. Enough is enough.
The margin, if two Republicans in the House flipped and became Democrats, the Democrats would win control of the House.
Here's what may happen, which I believe is a likely scenario. The Democrats, because what Mark said, the Democrats will regain control of the House and the Senate. They will impeach Donald, but this time it'll stick and he'll be gone. So I believe this time next year, I might be wrong, we're not going to be talking about Donald Trump. We're going to be talking about President J.D. Vance, for what it's worth. In the meantime, we should probably shift over to Asia, where half the population of the world lives, but they don't seem to show up too well in the Winter Olympics. I saw one person from China. I haven't seen anybody from Bangladesh or from India. So what gives over there, Dr. Sharif? Why is it that you guys don't show up in the Olympics? Talk to me, as they would say.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, if you say this U.S. travel and all of the issues, it's look like U.S. make a very strict decisions about Bangladesh traveler. So that is one issue. And second issues with these tariff issues, I think there is a negotiation in between Bangladesh and USA. And now Bangladesh tariff is 19 from 35 to 19. So this is happening, but most important thing right now, today we had our elections. After 17 years of all of the things, we have our elections. So what I understand from the election, there is a very competitive elections in between Bangladesh Nationalist Party and Bangladesh Jamaat Islam. Bangladesh Jamaat Islam look like they are the right wing, and it's look like US they are supporting these right wing authorities and politicians, and they are doing well. This is first time these right wing politicians or Islamic politicians they are getting very good result in Bangladesh. So that is interesting moment. Honestly speaking, country like Bangladesh, we are very small. We are very good ally for USA, and there are a lot of issues, then tax issues, tariff issues, as well as these elections and other things. USA has more influence than before after Trump administration come to Bangladesh, like in US power. So it's look like it's very interesting day for us. Maybe tomorrow I can understand who is winning these elections, but yeah, this is very interesting. And most of the times I try to understand the mindset of Nick Palveda, because how this US politicians and like this elite group of people think about right wing, because our context, this the writing politics and other things, some point is misrepresentations. This is interesting learning for me, honestly speaking. Now, how Nick defend with this Jatovi and all, with Sasha and other things. And my audience also learn different things from Nick Palveda. This is interesting. Keep it up. And Nick, I think people
Yes,
love
I
to
know
know
you
more.
hear this again on the World Talent Economic Forum and everything like that. So we're glad that you're doing that on a regular basis. And of course, every Tuesday and Thursday, we air your stuff at 6 o'clock in the morning and along those lines. And that's before TJ Walker and everything along those lines. I do have to ask Rick a question, because Sasha brought up a point yesterday that the reason we weren't doing that well in the Winter Olympics, meaning the U.S., was because there weren't enough black and brown people in the winter sports and everything. I think that this is probably one of the most diverse Winter Olympics teams ever and everything. So I think that there are probably more black and brown people on the team this year, because I think one of the ice skaters was from one of the Asian nations. I know that one of the speed skaters is African American. So if you look at it, it is probably one of the more diverse teams that we've ever presented. So that might be why we're winning more goals, to your point, Sasha, and everything. But am I correct in what you're
Mark,
saying?
perhaps you're right. I must say that probably you're right. But you know what I were doing in your place? Compare percentages of brown and black people in the summer Olympic US team versus
No,
winter
there's no
Olympic
doubt that, no,
team.
yeah, to your point, Sasha, there's no doubt that there are more black and brown people. Actually, you don't know that, and it's not that big of a deal. It was a big deal at the time, but there was a Olympic game. It was the Pan-African Games that were held in Durham, and this was decades ago, and everything along those lines. And they actually did something very unique, because I went to that game. There was a steeplechase runner that, because that was at the time that streaking Rick was very popular and everything like that. So there was a streaker that went across the field and tried to jump the steeplechase, the water barrier and everything, and fell into the water, but he kept on running because he didn't fall totally into the water. But there was a side Olympics that was going on, because there were people that recognized what you said. So even in the Pan-African Games, which of course is America against Africa, they ran a contest as to black folks versus white folks. And I can tell you the contest wasn't that close. So like I said, they ran an alternative contest.
The growing number of brown and black athletes in the U.S. Olympic team, maybe this is a confirmation of brown and black people becoming much more affluent than before, because the winter sports are very, very expensive, extremely expensive, all of them without any exception. And for example, in Canadian Winter Olympic teams, there are hardly, probably very few brown and black people, if any, just because it's extremely expensive. Can you imagine it when, let's see, if you will take track and field, Okay, so you run, it doesn't matter, 100 meters or 10 kilometers. It doesn't matter. You just run, and running is the least expensive type of
Yeah,
sport you can imagine. You just run.
Also, you don't grow up with those sports. I mean, come on, think about it. The reason you don't see Africans or you don't see people from Bangladesh in the Winter Olympics, who grows up with curling? I mean, I grew up in Florida. Curling? What are you talking about? That's a Canadian thing or a northern thing. Or snow skiing in Hillsborough County. What? It snowed one day in 60
Well, yeah,
years.
it's not just the equipment; it's you need to have a place to go. One of the silver medalists in downhill, like there's a guy who is named Cochran, who's medaled for the U.S. They have 7 Olympic athletes in his family. 7 members of his family have gone to the Olympics, including his mom, who won a couple medals, because they own a ski resort called Cochran's. So these people are skiing, every possible.
But Rick, isn't part of it also that when people get into these sports and they bring facilities here? I have said on this show before, and I'll say it again, that there is a curling facility here in Durham, and they have regular competitions in curling, and nobody thinks of curling as a North Carolina sport, but they are apparently doing well at that facility that is in the Triangle. And after one of the guys won in skateboarding, they created a skateboarding facility that also does some of the kind of like the skating and also skateboarding trick stuff and all along those lines. And that's in, of all places, Nick, Holly Springs. And we all know how big Holly Springs is.
Well, there's a reason that soccer is the world's most popular sport, because all you need is a ball and a field. Right. Like the ice dancing, figure skating, you need an arena. That's cheap. You can always find a skating rink, but you need coaches and you need wardrobe. And you probably have to spend at least $200,000 a year on personnel, and it's probably more than that.
Well, you need some music too, remember?
Yeah, I mean, you need a whole freaking production crew. You need choreographer. Yeah, like you said, music, and you need full-time, multiple-person staff.
Yeah, you do that.
By the way, about facilities, I'd like to tell you something. If you don't have available local facilities, so you go where facilities are available. Right. If you know that Jamaica has a bobsled team, where is a bobsled team could practice in Jamaica? Nowhere. But if they're going to Canada, then they have very good facilities and coaches and all infrastructure and so on. I don't think that they will win many medals in bobsled for Jamaica, but they're there.
They're there.
Yeah, and you have to do it when you're young too, Sasha. In other words, it's like all the good chess players, as you know, you're washed up if you're not an IM by the time you're like 15 years old, seriously. Sure. So the thing is, the people that say, oh, I'm going to start later on in life, or there's one facility down the street, they don't have a chance. So, curling, I don't see anybody from Florida who grew up there doing curling.
I just asked the AI.
Stupid Winter Olympic sports.
I just asked the AI, how many months Switzerland does well in the Winter Olympics for a little tiny country? How many months a year can you ski in Switzerland? AI says 10 to 12 months a year. There's a glacier called Zermatt where you can ski 365 days a year.
And Spain's not doing good in the Winter Olympics because there isn't any place to do winter sports here. I mean, Andorra, I think they're 0-0-0-0. They sent people there, but they can't compete against countries like Norway or, Canada or the US, where they have places where you can actually train and work out year round and you grow up with it. Remember, nobody here grows up with that stuff.
They don't grow up in that. And to Sasha's point, because I just asked AI as well, the Jamaican bobsled team, because they are competing in the Olympics again, apparently trains at the Olympic Regional Development Authority facilities in Lake Placid, which is one of the facilities that the Winter Olympics here in New York. So they train here in the U.S. and everything like that. So they trained at the Mount Von Hovenberg sliding track, and they also utilize local facilities in the neighboring town of Saranac Lake for accommodation and training. So it seems like they're doing most of their training here in the U.S. and everything. I did have a question for you, Nick, because we're a international. Well, I got 2 questions for you actually that are about StreamYard and one about what we are part of. But I'll get to the StreamYard question in a minute. But the question I've got for you about the world is we're a world network, and we've got the different people like Asia represented, Africa represented, Europe represented, the Oceania, and of course the Americas represented. Well, we have to have two representations. Right now we don't have any for African shows because apparently there's an ocean that is forming in Africa, and Africa is about to be divided into two continents, and we know that there had been division before as well. So are we about to have and what will the other two continents be called? Because apparently Africa is splitting in half.
Yeah, but this
Yeah.
is we're talking about what we're going to call it in a million years.
Yeah, I agree with Rick. You're looking about Africa is starting to divide, but it'll take about 1 million years. And so we got plenty of time to work on that problem, Mark, to figure out what you're going to discuss when it separates into two continents and a ocean strips right down the middle. So it'll be an exciting time about 1 million years from now, something I don't think this network has to worry about at this point in time. But you're right. Right now, we don't have any African shows. We used to have a lot of people from South Africa and Nigeria, but right now it's like zero.
We're trying to get some of those on. So maybe I know Sharif has got some friends on his show from Africa, so maybe we can try to get him to help us get some other shows, and we can reach out to some of the other ones as well. Sasha, you'll be glad to know, because I know you sometimes talk about YouTube, and that was one of the things that I saw when I switched from phone to the computer and everything like that. But apparently YouTube monetization is now available on StreamYard. So that's something that they just added as well. So I don't know what Nick thinks about this or what Kim will think about this, but apparently they have added YouTube monetization to this lovely platform that we use and everything like that. So they just added.
I didn't know anything about it. I do know this, and Dr. Sharif should know this also, because he produces the World Talent Economic Forum. You want to press the button clips, okay? When you're done with your StreamYard, there's a little thing to press clips. When you put the clips, you send them to YouTube, and your response on YouTube will go up 400 to 500%. Like, no kidding. Now, I heard, because clips, what they do is AI goes into your show.
Okay.
It's kind of magic. They find what they think is the best thing you're talking about, and they create a clip on it. They give you 4 clips. And then what you do is you share them on YouTube, and I've already beta tested it. One of them I had, like, within hours, I had 1,500 people watching. I'm going like, what's going on here? You know, it's called Clips. So since you're producing shows, and Rick produces shows, whoever does the work on StreamYard, press the button Clips. Now, when I do it, that means the minute I'm done with economics or my show, I can't talk afterwards because it takes over my computer, and that generates these clips. And I send them off to YouTube to see what they do. But man, it makes a big difference in the viewership. It'll increase your viewership about, on average, about 500%. Like, no kidding. On YouTube, it'll go up 500%. I'm just going, whoa. And I think you're going to see improvements like that in the era of technology, which will improve the podcast viewership.
By the way, Sasha's going to love this, because it's a topic that we talk about quite often, and sometimes the people on the right get upset about it. And I know that Rick brings up that these people don't really make up that much of a population and everything. But apparently, even in Canada, the transgender issue is getting out there, because they're saying that it was a transgender ex-student that was identified as the alleged suspect in the Canada school mass shooting that killed at least 9 on yesterday. So they're definitely having conversations like we do about guns and mental health struggles that are existing in Canada and everything like that. But apparently they're claiming that the shooter was actually a trans student and everything like that.
Male to female, 6 feet tall, didn't like being big. The article I just skimmed said that she was upset that she wanted to be petite, but she was 6 feet tall. So she killed everybody and herself. She shot her mom.
Do you think that person had mental issues?
Yeah. But then there's another article. I don't know if this is, politically loaded. Are cross-sex drugs driving trans shooters to kill? So I don't know. I'll read the article. I don't know if it's bullshit or not. But yeah, she was a trans shooter.
Yeah, and they represent such a small percentage of the population, but they certainly get a lot.
And this is somebody who gave like plenty. There's she was posting pictures of her with a semi-auto rifle back in October of 2023. So she gave plenty of advanced warning that
the warning signs were up there.
Speaking of warning signs, are we ready for a teenager? And I know we've got other ones as well, but are we ready for a teenage leader of a major country? Because apparently there's a spy agency they're saying that Kim Jong-un daughter is close to being designated the leader and everything along those lines. So definitely they're saying that he's about to choose his daughter as heir and everything along those lines. So maybe we'll have a teenager running in that particular country. And some people have said that he sometimes acts like a teenager himself and everything like that. So what is our thoughts around this? A young person apparently about to enter the succession.
Every time they have a generational change in governance, we're hopeful that the next generation will be less dickish than the one before. We're always disappointed. These people, they go overseas for college. They are exposed to the Western world, but then they come back and are surrounded by their junta, and they are just as bad for themselves through the world as the generation before.
Well, speaking of generations and everything like that, I want to get to Dr. Sharif. Hold on a second, Nick, because Dr. Sharif was apparently the Generation Z people that forced this election that you were talking about, because they definitely had some various protests, and that's why they all held the first election after a while, because of the student protests. So how much did the students influence in that particular generation, kind of like this young princess, influence what was going on in your country? Because that's what I'm hearing, is that they are voting in mass, and who knows what kind of leadership they're going to bring. But you work with these students, so what's your take on how they are impacting your elections?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. And if you see that we are getting the result, like most of the student politicians, those who lead this revolution, they already win in the elections. Like I can mention some names like Sarjit, Hasnat Abdullah, Mr. Patwaris, and many student leaders, those who come to the front line and they do for all of the sacrifice and everything, so they actually winning this election. So it's mean that Bangladesh people, they are strongly still supporting the youth communities, and they win against all of the high profile politicians in their own area. So it's just beginning. I do not know what will happen, but it's look like youth are doing very good in politics, and now they come to the power with their with the mandate, people mandate. So hopefully they will be the future of Bangladesh. So this model, I honestly speaking, how I see this Asia and Africa and other country, this model will move to the other countries, other youth people or Gen Z. They will be inspired and they come to the politics, and that is definitely the challenging moment for the oligarch society or these rich communities or something like that. That's why I'm very interested to know more from this Nick Palveda, because his mindset is something we can understand, the Western mindset, and we can predict how we can collaborate, how we can culturally interact with each other. So that is very interesting political and economical moment, not only for Bangladesh, I think for all of the countries from global north and global south.
It makes sense. And Nick, there's a plan, because I know you talk about the administration is doing and everything like that, but they have a new report from the Education Department that says that U.S. colleges received more than $5 billion in foreign gifts and contracts in 2025. They're saying that they got $1.1 billion from Qatar, $285 million from Saudi in 2025, and I guess they're saying that these other foreign agencies are impacting what some of the opinions are of our colleges and everything like that, because they're definitely U.S. universities are awash in foreign funding from Qatar, China, Saudi Arabia, and other countries. So what's your take on this, since you are a big fan of U.S. colleges?
Oh, yeah, I know. I think it's a great idea, Mark. When we can get Qatar and the UAE to send Pod TV money, let me know, Mark. Because they certainly do have a lot of money over there in Dubai. So for me to go over to Dr. Sharif's place, Dhaka, and I'll have to put it on the list so I can go visit you, Dr. Sharif, and report about Bangladesh, since you do have 170 million people. But I'll go look at flights. I probably have to stop in Dubai. Why? Because everything is stopping in Dubai today. So Dubai is awash in cash. They keep trying to sell me houses over there, but but I don't want to live in Dubai. I mean, Dubai is like, it's it's like a U.S. city in the middle of the bloody desert, So other than a big airport and a stopover, I don't really care that much about it. But yeah, Sharif, I think Shaquille likes it for what it's worth.
Yeah, Shaquille likes it.
I'd much rather see Dhaka because that's an old historic city, and Bangladesh is an old historic country. I'm sure it's a lot more interesting than a piece of land.
This is for everybody here and everything. What are we thinking about the workers trying to get their rights? Because apparently that's a big issue in Argentina. Argentina workers clashed with police as senators in that country are debating labor reform. So labor reform isn't just an issue in the United States. It's an issue around the world, even in London and England and a number of other places, even though there was a recent prime minister that was, or billionaire in the UK. And I know I think Sasha has talked about this before, that said that they're being colonized by immigrants. So that was billionaire Jim Ratcliffe and everything like that. So what is our take on this notion of immigrants, either one, taking over countries, and two, the workers standing up for their rights?
Well, the workers standing up for their rights have been doing it for years. It's because even the U.S., they work a lot, and all the money goes to the 1%. So the workers are like little ants that are around that can be squished by the big ant, and they produce all the work. And that's the reason who these guys, Marx and Engels, came about and said, dude, you're having your lunch taken from you by the capitalists. They're sucking up all the money, and you're getting little peanuts. Well, unfortunately, that stuff still exists. The problem is Marx and Engels' solution was just as bad as the problem. There is ways to do it, what they call equitable distribution, but apparently the communists haven't figured that one out
We're
yet.
not being taken over. 100 years ago, 120 years ago, the percent of Americans not born in America, 16%. The percent today, 16%. We're not being taken over. The number of undocumented illegal immigrants is, 3-4%. It's not, you clear all of them out, you haven't fixed anything. It's a bullshit, like.
But there was a hostile takeover.
Wait, you get my point. Wait, so England,
Yeah.
Germany, all the European countries have more than 10% immigrants. And those you're in Spain, I'm sure they've got close to 10%, immigrant populations. And you love Spain. There's nothing wrong with frickin' Spain. And anything wrong with Spain isn't because you've got immigrants in Spain.
It's an excuse to demonize a group of individuals. It is the same old white supremacist, racist.
There was a hostile takeover by the halftime Super Bowl. I mean, everybody noticed it.
So Nick, you're going to just interrupt and not let me finish, or now we're going to get back to this again. We're going to go back to talking back over top of each other where I can't finish my point, but you're going to sit here and try to talk over me. But yeah, I keep going fast. But you're not going to talk over me right now because I'm going to go ahead and finish my point. If you want me to let me finish my point, you can just sit back and relax.
So what do you expect?
So let me go ahead and finish my point. Yeah, Nick, you can relax.
Well, I have.
So you can relax. You can relax. You sit back. You sit back and relax. I'm going to go ahead and finish my point right now. I'm going to say what I was going to say until you started interrupting me. So I was going to finish. So that is an old. They're coming for your jobs. They're coming for your families. It's an old white supremacist, racist trope that has been there for decades, since the inception of this country. So the immigrants are not taking over and all this other stuff. It's just another way to demonize individuals or just trying to have a better life, just like everybody else. Yeah, you're on mute. It's kind of funny.
Wait.
Couldn't hear you.
Like it or not, they took over the halftime Super Bowl. Okay, remember, not one word of English was spoken.
Nick, let me stop you real quick because you're being racist.
Except Lady
Nick,
Gaga.
Let me stop you real quick because you're being racist.
They co-opted the halftime.
Nick, let me stop you real quick. Let me stop you real quick. Are you saying here, Nick? Let me help you. Are you saying? Wait, Nick. Let me ask you this question because you're already starting out racist. Are you saying? Because you said they're taking over. Are you saying that anybody who speaks Spanish is not American?
No, I speak Spanish.
Then shut up. because what you're saying is dumb and
No,
racist.
no. What I'm saying is they didn't know habla inglés.
Do you realize? Do you realize when you said they are
Me no
taking
gusta.
over?
Me no gusta.
Do you realize when you stated?
Me no gusta.
Do you realize that when you stated that they are taking over our country and they took over halftime, do you realize that Puerto Rico is part of the U.S.? So nobody took over halftime, and just because you did not understand Spanish, you already otherized anybody who speaks Spanish. It's the reason I ask you the question. Stop being racist.
Because we got just a few minutes to get to a couple of other stories as well. But just really
hold on, wait. Let's talk about what's really going on. So this year, the NFL regular season is 272 games. This year, 9 of them will be played overseas. London, 3 games. Paris, Munich, Madrid, Mexico City, Rio de Janeiro, and Melbourne. The NFL has a monopoly on football in the U.S. They can't expand their U.S. market, and so they need to move into the world, and they're trying to appeal to the world. So yeah, they look for big artists with big crossover appeal, and Bad Bunny is the most streamed artist of last year. He also happens to do Spanish language songs. So it works for the frickin' NFL.
That's the whole point right there, Rick.
That's such a lie.
NFL is expanding.
The thing is that the NFL streamed artists are in India. Hello.
Honestly, what they may do, and truthfully,
American
at some point there will be individuals of Indian descent. There will be other individuals,
but they don't belong in the bloody Super Bowl.
Of Asian descent,
and they don't belong in the Super Bowl either.
At halftime.
What? There are players that are
you realize.
Come on, they don't belong in the Super Bowl. That was kind of a slap in the face.
And that's when you look at the song "Golden," which is actually one of the top songs out there, and the whole Demon Hunter that was on Netflix is still one of the top watched shows. So when we're starting to look at K-pop, will be
that was a slap in the face to all the NFL fans in the United States.
3 years. Hands down, K-pop artist will take over the stage at Super Bowl. Why? Because it's trying to be a global sport.
NFL teams,
global sport.
NFL teams are owned by billionaires. The Dallas Cowboys. These are billion-dollar businesses.
Give it up.
The Dallas Cowboys are worth $13 billion. The Rams are worth $10.5 billion. Billionaires own these teams. And it's fun to own a team, but they want ROI. They want return on investment.
Return on the investment. There's no doubt
so
about
they
that.
want to be.
They certainly did away. They're certainly not doing a good job at it. Roger Goodell really screwed up the halftime show. The last thing you want to do is offend your clients, which is what
anybody.
Fire.
And anybody.
They
the only people that got offended are people who are racist.
Who made a rundown on their chessboard.
The only people that got offended are people who are racist.
This was the most watched. This was the most watched halftime show in Super Bowl history. 140 million viewers, more than who watched the game. People tuned in.
That's because the game sucked and the halftime sucked.
But 100.
What can I tell you?
Halftime was great.
It's all about the freaking money.
It's all about the money and everything like that. Hold on, we only got a few more minutes to go and everything like that. I did want to ask you a question. Hold on. That's we can get back into the whole question about
American
got enough
music.
of this and everything.
It was American music. The man is from America.
It's American music. That's Latin American music, dude. That's
the man is from America.
That is Miami music. It's fine. I like Miami music. I went to the U. But is it American music? No. Don't.
It is American music. The man is from America.
They didn't
the man is from the United States of America. Just because he speaks Spanish doesn't make him foreign. And that's what you are actually projecting right now. This is why I go in on you, Nick.
No,
Because listen. This is why I go in on you on this stuff, Nick. Because when you're projecting, you're literally right now projecting that anybody who speaks Spanish is not American. That is what you are saying. And that is the bad thing. And that is actually a racist trope that you are projecting. You don't realize it. You may think it's funny, but you don't realize it. But that's what you're pushing, is that anybody who speaks Spanish is not American. And that is racist. You've got to stop that.
Well, to you, everything's racist.
Well,
but
I'm pointing out exactly what you're saying, but you guys don't understand it.
The thing is, if you looked at the Super Bowl halftime show that was put on by the NFL, the guy who was there singing spoke not one word of English.
So what? So what?
Okay. However, almost
the United States does not have a defined language. There is no defined language in the actual Constitution. It does not force you to speak English. It is not a defined language. So what you're starting off with right there,
you guys quit going around and around on this shit. Let me give you one statistic. The most valuable NFL team by far are the Dallas Cowboys, who haven't been, they're worth $13 billion, and they haven't been to the Super Bowl in 30 years. The NFL is an exercise in branding, and you just have to follow the money, and you won't be surprised by anything the NFL does. It's a bunch of billionaires trying to make more freaking money.
And that's why, like I said, in the next 2 to 3 years, a K-pop artist will be there, and I will say in the next 5 to 10 years, how much you want to bet we'll have a Bollywood star?
I'm thinking K-pop.
Make NFL the worldwide sport, you are going into areas heavily populated by soccer fans. By the way, there are quite a few publicly listed soccer teams. One of them, Manchester United. It's trading about the value of the company on the stock market is about $1 billion. But it's not even a leader in English Premier League. They're about 4th, 5th team. So the top teams are today Arsenal and Manchester City. However, so those two teams' capitalization would be definitely $3 to $5 billion, and they're publicly traded. You can buy shares any given moment. Like right now, I'm talking to you, and at the same time, I can buy a couple of hundred shares of Manchester United without doing a lot of hard work. And now, what I'd like to tell you is impossible to imagine that the same person loves soccer and American football. Sorry, my friends, that's not possible. So,
Sasha,
I'll tell you that it's impossible.
Just to point out, just a quick correction. Evidently, the Glazer family. You just talked about Manchester United and the Glazer family, right? They own Manchester United. You know what else they own?
They sold. It's a public company now. It's not controlled by Glazer.
Well, but what I'm saying is, Sasha, but they own Manchester United, but they also own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Where ownership is a different story. Ownership is all about money. If Glazer found that he can make money over here and over there, he'll do that. But I'm talking about average fans, average people who are going to the stadium on the English Premier League or watching it on TV.
I think what Rick stated was that billionaires want to be billionaires and they want more money. And if the Glazer family found out a way that they can own both the Manchester United, which is a soccer pinnacle, and they can own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now, they're going to want to make more money off of both. So they can.
Okay, here's another thing. An American foot team owner looks at soccer and is like, what the hell? Soccer is just a bunch of guys kicking a ball around for 90 minutes. Football is giant, is balls going through the air, 300-pound guys crashing into each other, and so many more ad breaks. A soccer game does not offer many opportunities to stop the game.
Well, that's how you Americans think, but the world thinks your game sucks. Okay, but now I'm going to beat up your Bad Bunny.
As much as you want to sit here and say you think the world thinks the
45
game
billion
stinks.
views.
The
45 billion
problem
views.
with that
Bad Bunny.
argument, Nick,
You guys
is the
said Bad
fact
Bunny
that
is the biggest
I just
bad
point
person
out
on
to you
YouTube.
that the
It's not
Glazer
true.
family would
Adjunct
not
Singh.
invest in something
Adjunct
that
Singh
they
had
think stinks.
316
So,
billion views.
all right, Nick's going to
Sting
ramble on to
beats
make
the
this
bunny.
rambling racist trope
beats
rant,
the
but I'm
bunny.
going. I see y'all.
Sting
All right, yeah,
beats
just really
the
quickly,
bunny.
because everybody's we're gonna wrap up and everything along those lines.
Yeah, we
But
gotta go.
we gotta go. But just really quickly, it does look like there's a major Mexican team or Mexican artist that's about to perform, and they're coming to a stadium near you. So the Música Mexicana Heavyweights today announced their first ever stadium tour of the United States. So that's a dream run that they're going to have. So we're going to have this Mexican popular group that's getting ready to come to the area as well. And Sasha, I don't know how you feel about this, but apparently the Kennedy Center, they're saying that they're going to have Live Nation take over their booking and all along those lines. So I guess they're going to go into business because the Kennedy Center operations may go to either Live Nation and Ticketmaster, which I think oftentimes run together and everything. So before we get out of here, we can go a few minutes over. What is your thoughts around Live Nation taking over the Kennedy Center?
Well, I think it's becoming a completely different operation because it's was before Trump got involved, historical icon in American culture, and now it will become just another venue for promoters to make more money. That's a major difference.
Yeah.
I got one more thing about the NFL. By 2045, the U.S. will become a minority white nation, where whitey will be less than half of the population. And that's largely due to an increasing Latino population. And the football teams are a family business. These billionaires hand it down to their kids. So the billionaires are looking to the future, and they want Latino people to be as much into football as whitey is. So all these things push, make an experiment with a Spanish language halftime, perfectly consistent with, billionaires wanting to make money.
And I'm actually of the opinion, kind of what Toby was saying, I would not be surprised if it's not a K-pop or another popular Asian pop group that is the halftime show at the next halftime in 2027, particularly considering the fact that I think Rock Nation has that contract for another year or two, because they did
the movie K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix, the most watched movie in Netflix history.
Yeah, and even if you want to look at his popular, and I think it's probably even different in the University of Miami football team, but the University of Miami claims to be very diverse and everything like that. There are 43 to 50% white students, but they have a significant Hispanic or Latino representation, approximately 25 to 27%, and around 7 to 8% Black or African American. And on the team,
I've got one more thing.
It's probably even different.
Is what people like at a halftime show. When I was a kid in the early days of the Super Bowl, the halftime shows sucked ass.
Mm-hmm.
But now people want production value. And even though like the Dallas Cowboys haven't, gone to the Super Bowl forever, they have the best, most skilled cheerleaders in the whole country. It's so punishing on the cheerleaders. They have to get hip replacements when they're done cheering. And so
which is why we're going to have a national show.
Is the most skilled, production-heavy type of performance there is. They put those girls through freaking hell for years until they are so crazily precise and trained, and that makes for a good show. And people want a good freaking show. The Big Bunny show, Bad Bunny show was really great. They did so many crazy things. That who cares about the language?
In European soccer, I'm watching English Premier League. I'm watching Spanish League, La Liga, they call it. German teams, they don't have cheerleaders. They don't have halftime shows because the game itself is a show. The game itself is a beauty. You have players who are coming once in generations, like Pele, Maradona, Messi, Ronaldo. You don't have that set of skills required in American football. Any idiot who is 2.5 and practice for 2.5 weeks can go on and play this football. So the bloody game on its merits cannot be sold to Europeans who are watching soccer, the best players in the world, the best technique, the best strategy. You're just kidding. It will not be done.
Okay, all right. So let's take that as true. So what you have to offer audiences is spectacle, and the game itself has become less spectacular because the most spectacular aspects of football were killing people, giving them brain damage. Now, like Donald Trump complains about this all the time. They keep making football safer, which makes football look less exciting. So yeah, you gotta, if you're gonna pump it up, you gotta do other stuff.
You gotta do other stuff, and as we get ready to get out of here and everything like that, I know we've got the VC Masters coming up at 1:00, and Nick is handling that show and everything along those lines. So they'll be talking about venture capital and all in that space. But I think you're correct, Sasha, because I don't think that there are any. I'm trying to think of any other sports that have cheerleaders, because I know baseball doesn't have cheerleaders, and definitely rugby and soccer don't have cheerleaders. So football,
the NBA has cheerleaders,
NBA,
but they barely show them on TV.
Yeah. Right, but I don't think any of the other world sports have cheerleaders, because I don't ever remember seeing cheerleaders at a soccer match, to Sasha's point, and I definitely don't remember seeing them at a cricket or a rugby match. But hey, maybe they've got them and I'm just not seeing them. But
all right,
I have not
I
seen
will
them.
see you this afternoon or tomorrow.
Yep, I'll definitely send you all the link for the 5:00 show.
Right,
We've
bye.
also got the 6:00 show right after us, but we're going to get on out of here, and I'll catch you hopefully this evening, and not definitely on tomorrow for World Edition, and for the Ukraine, Russia, China show, as well as for the recording of the chess show for Saturday.
Sure.
But right now, let's get on out of here. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.